So the Buddha taught that real peace and real happiness come from learning how to overcome our defilements of the mind, unwholesome emotions that arise, greed, hatred, and delusion, these emotions which trouble us and cause us incredible amount of suffering and difficulty. Learning how to overcome these is the way to experiencing real happiness within ourselves. And very often the Buddha spoke about this practice being like a war. It's like a war against our inner defilements. These things are very much like demons, that live in our mind. So it's very much like a war against our inner demons. And, oftentimes we think about war and fighting, and it seems like something that is, involves a lot of aggression and a lot of pushing and clenching our teeth. But, that's not really the way of fighting. The way of fighting our inner defilements is very different than that. And I think, a great example of practice, how to practice with our defilements, maybe the best example of fighting this war is, the example of the Buddha, particularly on the night of his enlightenment, the story of the night that he realized awakening. He sat underneath the Bodhi tree and he had the determination, I won't move until I've realized full enlightenment. Even if the body passes away, still I won't be moved from this spot until I completely destroy the defilements of the mind. And as soon as he had this determination, then all of the inner defilements, the armies of Mara, greed, hatred, and delusion arose and came to attack him from all sides. And they were not only trying to force him to physically get up and leave, so the deeper meaning, they were trying to force him to mentally move. They were trying to force him to mentally be moved from that spot in the same way that all of us are always, shaken and moved from the place where we are by our inner defilements. So all of his inner defilements, arose in that moment, full force to charge against him and to try to force him to be overwhelmed and shaken. And the Buddha didn't, he didn't run away from all of these demons, armies of Mara, but he also didn't, jump up and clench his teeth or start screaming and attack the armies in that way. He didn't pick up a weapon and try to fight the armies of Mara in that way. Instead he just remained perfectly unmoving, perfectly balanced in the midst of chaos, perfectly at ease and balanced in the midst of all of these inner demons, and he refused to be moved. Not only physically, he refused to be moved mentally. And the story is that, of course, the armies of Mara, firing their arrows at the Buddha, and as the arrows reach the Buddha, then they become flowers and just fall at his feet. So this is a really beautiful image of what real practice is like, what the real battle against our defilements is like, up against incredible odds and incredibly powerful inner demons. The way that we really fight them is by learning how to be perfectly present, perfectly balanced in the present moment, present with the things that are very difficult to be present with. We find that if we're able to be like the Buddha and to be truly unmoved, in the midst of all of these very difficult emotions, then it doesn't matter how many armies there are against us, all of their attacks become harmless. They can no longer harm us. The mind that is unshaken, the mind that refuses to be moved by the world, it's beyond suffering. It's a place of real safety. It can no longer be overwhelmed and attacked from any side. So I'll offer that for reflection this morning.